Well, it's always a real pleasure to speak to Benjamin Bloom, the only Ipswich fan welcome on this channel. A really nice coincidence, actually. The Derby Day is a month today. It is quickly approaching, so I thought we'd get the insight on Ipswich Town and how scared we should be from the man himself. Ben, so good to see you. It's been a little while.
I think the last time we spoke was in like a Premier Inn or a Holiday Inn or something like that. And it was the day you beat Leeds 3-0 or 3-1,
Yeah.
wasn't it? At Ellen Road. And we were both off to the game, weren't we? And everybody went from, well, Norwich, they're kind of winging it, aren't they? To, right, yeah, they're going to win the title, aren't they?
It's amazing how things change. I was actually looking back, and that was the last time we filmed in person. I think we had a few sort of COVID kind of recordings as well. But I mean, the heady heights of 2019 are long gone. Look, let's get the lowdown on Ipswich Town, because you're obviously across it, and I think Norwich fans are more across it than we'd probably like to be. But you're in everyone's faces at the moment. I think, considering you were newly promoted into the Championship, a lot of shrewd judges and people I respect the opinion of were very sweet on Ipswich Town to go well again. That it's always in the back of your mind, though, that new team into the Championship is only going to go so well. But I mean, the start you've had, surely beyond wildest expectations.
Yeah, massively. So I always think you get 6 to 8 weeks if you're promoted from League One. Well, everyone else is changing their, best players go out of the Championship, don't they? They get sold if the team hasn't been promoted. Managers change, all of that good stuff. 3 new teams at the top, 3 new at the bottom. So I maintain, unless you do a Sheffield Wednesday and your owner's a complete, head case and you just tear everything up. If you've just been promoted, I mean, look at Plymouth. They've kind of maintained their home form and they look all right, and they probably won't go down now because of a fairly decent start. But no, it's just been ridiculous, hasn't it? So the basically the team is the same as the one that had that mad run at the end of last season, and I would be very lacking in self-awareness if I didn't say we had by far the most money in League One and spent the most money in League One. So there was a lot of it was set up for the Championship, but you don't expect to go 39 points from 16 games and basically keep up your form from League One when you go up a level. So no, I totally agree. It's been way beyond expectations.
And what's it been down to, Ben? I mean, you're scoring so many goals and seemingly conceding a lot of goals as well. Is it just been the kind of out and out attacking ruthlessness that you've had?
It's just a pattern of play, really, and we'll probably talk about the manager. Just have loads of the ball, control games, and make loads of chances. And a data guy once told me very simply, football's straightforward. Good teams make a lot of good chances and don't concede very many, and bad teams, the complete opposite. And look, there's been a few games where, particularly in the first 6-8 weeks, where they were coin flips. And because we've been winning for 6 months, you win those games, don't you? A tight game, you just win when you're on a roll. There's been a few of those. There's been a few, though, where they've been tight and we should have won by more. So, you can play it both ways. But look, we're projecting like 114 points or something. So we're not going to get 114 points. You can clip that out right now. And yeah, I just think we're really well set up, and the muscle memory. I remember you guys under Farker I think you might have won eight or 9 on the trot, and he just never changed the team. And when you get in that role, it's hard to stop, isn't it?
Yeah, a nice link really into Kieran McKenna. I mean, both sets of fans will be used to, plucking out a relative unknown. I know McKenna was, a bit more known within the English footballing kind of sphere. How impressed have you been with him? Because from the outside looking, I mean, one of the most impressive kind of young managers in the game at the moment.
I don't know what there is to say that hasn't been I don't know, other than being top of the league, I don't know what else he could do really. And as you say, really young manager, and he's very much the new breed. And your club was obviously 4 or 5 years ahead of us on this, where we were still hiring Paul Lambert and Paul Cook. You're going for the studious coach who's big on philosophy and pattern of play and data. And I guess we've eventually caught up, and you get them sometimes, don't you, where you just get the right guy at the right time. And it's sometimes you sit and you watch a team and you just know that they've been really well drilled, and they're just really pleasing on the eye, and his calmness and everything else. And I mean, you never know truly what goes into the actual hiring and signing of players, but yeah, he's just done a fantastic job, and it's very, very much enjoying while he's here territory for Town fans. Yeah.
Just in terms of Derby Day, then Ben, because I'm sure for the majority of Ipswich fans as well, when you come back into the same division as Norwich, because we did have a little while apart, that fixture is the one that you look for, both home and away. And I think we were really grateful actually that it didn't come near the start of the season with the hangover of last campaign. So I think actually the fixtures have been quite kind to us. But as we kind of come out of this international break, we are, that is firmly on the radar now. And I think I speak for the majority of Norwich fans. We are desperately concerned that this is going to be our first defeat in this kind of tie since 2009. I'm just wondering, do you guys have the opposite opinion? Are you coming into this optimistic, or is there still that concern that Derby Day throws out all form lines?
Let's be honest, if any Ipswich fan is going in and they're all smug and confident, they're a liar, because before the game, they'll be absolutely terrified. And, until Ipswich do finally get that win, the PTSD is not going to go away. And it'll be, and you've mentioned about the high scoring. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that with this game being at Portman Road, and there's been a 4-3 win, a 4-3 defeat. There's been a 4-2, 2 3-2s, one of them where we came back from 2-0 down. So there's every possible chance it could be a complete madness of a game, which would be great, because you remember all those boring McCarthy 1-1 draws. And I don't want to talk about the one that we should have won and threw away in the 95th minute, but of course we're concerned, and I mean, maybe the one good thing is Kieran McKenna and these players don't have the stench. Look, the ones in the playoffs, you had a way better team than us, and it was what it was. The one that rankles is obviously the Tim Closer header, where you're literally leading with seconds to go. I mean, James Maddison, you can accept losing to him, and obviously the 3-0 one where you were one of the best teams of the last 10 years in the championship and we were one of the worst, is what you're going to do. So none of that stench is on this lot, but it's certainly on the fans, and the stadium will still be emotional and tense, however confident things are at the moment.
Well, that's slightly more promising to hear. Yeah, I'm obviously speaking to the Ipswich fan in Ben Bloom today, but I mean, your analysis and punditry across the championship is brilliant, and I know all of our viewers know that as well. What have you made of our season so far? I mean, first of all, what was the expectation, and two, has that expectation delivered?
So I thought that the 3 year one parachute teams would be good, and they have been. So I thought it was going to be, there might be only 1 or 2 playoff places, but I imagined that you guys would be challenging for playoffs. But I think I might have put 9th in the end. I thought you might miss. But then when the season started, and Johnny Rowe obviously announced himself, and Sarah stepped up, Sargent was looking really good, wasn't he? I thought, oh, okay, I think they're going to get into the playoffs. And then, as you've mentioned on a lot of your content, this terrible run at the end of last season, which was 2 wins in 11, and that's now happened again. So I tend to agree with you a little bit that I think your squad is better than that, and I think you're underperforming at the moment, but this Norwich side should at least be in the top 10. And if you're in the top 10, you're challenging for playoffs. That's the way the championship goes. And that would be my take. But I know there's a lot of other moving parts at Norwich with this slow moving takeover, new sporting director. So I know there's all of that in the way that I know players would deny it makes any difference, but it does, doesn't it?
Pleasing also to hear that someone agrees with my thoughts. Occasionally happens. I think last time we would have spoke, Ben, Marcus Evans was still the man at Ipswich, and obviously a lot has changed since then. There's a more of a hope than an expectation from the Norwich side that maybe Ipswich will drop off, and as you said, I mean the points per game you're going at isn't. Well, you wouldn't thought sustainable, but the other teams in and around you probably can't sustain the levels either. So, do you think you remain in the top 2 come the end of the season, or do you think if you were to finish in the top 6, you'd still be delighted with that?
Look, if they're in the top 2, that's either miraculous from McKenna or Russ Martin or Daniel Farker has stuffed it up, and I don't really see Daniel Farker stuffing it up knowing what we know about him. They're cruising now. The only thing that could possibly happen is exactly what happened to us in League One last season, but with 4 teams, if Southampton go as well, where you could get 4 teams with 85, 90 points potentially, but I mean, it just sounds mental, me talking about Ipswich getting 85 points, having just come up from League One. So I'm sure you've all looked at the fixture list and you know full well that not only is there Norwich, there's Middlesbrough away in December, Leeds away, Leicester at home, and Watford away, which, I'm not. So look, there's a really difficult run. What I will say, though, Jack, you study the league and you study the numbers. If you've got 39 points at game 16, you'll do well not to get in the playoffs. You've got to put another, you're talking, say you want 75 to get in the playoffs. I'm not very good at maths. What is that? Another 37? Yeah, another 37 points across another. That's bottom half, upper, like 14th, 15th place form. So, yeah. Do I think they'll outlast 3 year one parachute teams? Probably not, but there's every chance they can get the playoffs now. Yeah,
there's beautiful narrative in here, isn't there? That the 2 chasing managers are Russell Martin and Daniel Farker, and Derby Day comes in a month where you face, Leeds. Is Leeds the game after Norwich, isn't it? So it's going to be
Norwich on the 16th, Leeds on the 23rd. Yeah.
So it's either going to be a delightful Christmas dinner for you guys or not. Look, we'll catch up in the meantime before Derby Day. But I mean, what are your feelings going into it? Because we obviously haven't had one for a little while, and those nerves always seem to bubble up. More so when you haven't played each other in a little while. It's at Portman Road. You've had good attendances. You're buzzing. I mean, it must be a good time and a good feeling around the place.
Yeah, you'd hope so. It's almost like I kind of know roughly what I'm going to get from Ipswich. The big wild card is Norwich, isn't it? Because you've muted this. We had this with Paul Hurst, even in South Wales as well. And look, Norwich has got a way better squad, and David Wagner is a way better manager than Paul Hurst was, but he won a game 3-2 in South Wales before an international break, and it gave him another 3-4 games, I think, and he just lost all of them. And that can confuse things. So we don't know whether we're going to have a Ben Napper, David Wagner, trend upwards. We don't know whether he might last another 4 games and you might you could have a manager. I think Brian Hamilton might have been a caretaker manager back in the 90s, and he actually won the game. But he'd been coaching at Ipswich, so he had insider information, big style there. But I still sound bitter about that, don't I? Ewan Roberts, to be fair, scored a really good goal in that game and one very jammy goal, if I remember correctly. And Andy Marshall played a blinder as well, and then proceeded to be absolutely terrible for Ipswich. Lovely guy, but didn't work out for him at Ipswich. I've gone off on a complete tangent, Jack, but you could literally have a new manager. So, look, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a crisp winter morning, isn't it? A 12:30 kickoff. Are you coming?
No, I'm avoiding it this year, Ben. Look, I've done plenty. I've done plenty of derbies at Portman Road, but I just there's something about this one that's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, look, that's I mean, I'm gonna go, but if I'm a musician. If you offered me a nicely paid gig now on that Saturday 16th, I'd take it and give my ticket to someone. They make me feel physically sick, and you'll bring tons and tons of fans, and just that horrible noise if and when. Look, let's be honest, both teams are going to score, aren't they? Knowing Portman Road. So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to be going in feeling like, because I mean, everybody makes fun and talks about the years of losing, but honestly, in most of those games, we've not been the favourites, have we? You've had better teams, better managers, better seasons in pretty much all of them, and maybe the one year when it would have been Alex Neil against Mick McCarthy. I think possibly one of Alex Neil's last games. Other than that, we've had a puncher's chance. But yeah, this one does feel different. But it would be the most Ipswich thing in the world to surrender a 3-1 lead and concede 2 stoppage time goals or something. Oh, Jack, we're having all these conversations now of, right, you're going to beat Leeds and you're going to beat Leicester, but you're going to lose at home to Norwich. All of those conversations now. And, you're almost saying there's actually bigger things at play than the local derby, which is mental considering what it means to everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes at such a crucial time for both sides as well. Look, as I say, Ben, we'll catch up nearer the time. I suspect for both teams there will be differences from the point in which we're speaking now, but good to get some insight into our noisy neighbours. And look, I would say best of luck for the rest of the season. I say that to you more than the wider group, but it's always a pleasure. And keep up the good work.
Jack, do you not back the underdog here against the horrible, wealthy Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton? This is a good news story, Jack.
It's look, I think everyone else is backing them. You don't need my support as well. Look, I think you're right in saying though, you expected Leicester to do well. Leeds were a little bit of a basket case at the start of the season, weren't they? So I'm actually surprised that they've solidified a bit more than they have. And I thought Southampton would go better than they have been so far, but Russ has got something good going now. So, it is a little bit boring up the top there. So I guess from a product stand of view, it's good to see you up there. But yeah, an interesting month or so ahead. Ben, thanks so much.
Legend, mate. Keep up the good work.